Irrigate the hell out of this with 3 liters.
3 liters?
With saline, genius.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of the Pitt Season 2. This week we'll be covering Episode 10, the hour between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. I'm David Chen. He's Patrick Klepek. Patrick, before we get into this episode, any quick reaction to this episode of the show?
Oh, we're just going to really drag out Patrick crying while watching The Pitt. That's my
This is one of the benefits of telling a show in real time when you have a character who's dying tragically, is you can stretch that character's death out to like 3, 4, 5 episodes instead of just having it be like a one and done, right?
Yeah, I don't want these fictional kids to lose their mom, but I need to be released from this emotional torture prison.
Well put. All right. In this episode of the show, the Pitt tries to deal with the aftermath of a water slide collapse at a local amusement park. So Robbie recruits Ogilvy to help receive patients instead of Langdon. Kind of a slap in the face. But let's talk about our main cases this episode. The big one is a woman that falls from 10 feet onto a metal fence. I don't think we actually ever learn her name. So she falls from 10 feet onto a metal fence, resulting in an amputation below the knee. Ogilvy is handed the bag that has her leg in it.
Here's her leg, I think. I rewound it to... Did they just say they handed him the leg? I was like, sure enough, yep.
I'm not sure it's healthy for anybody.
Here's her leg.
Jesus.
Here's the leg. Okay.
But the best part about this is not only them handing him the leg, it's also that he can't say anything. Like, basically, they don't want him to alarm her because she needs to be in a sedate, sort of docile state so they can do all the testing and the surgery and all the stuff they need to do on her. So Robbie tells Ogilvy to shut the F up for the first time.
Put that on the gurney, line it up for x-ray, keep your fucking mouth shut.
Lung sliding right and left.
But yeah, the patient is a bit hard to handle, so they administer ketamine. And they also, Whitaker also recommends what's called a popliteal nerve block, which is local anesthetic that is injected around the sciatic nerve below the knee, typically used in lower leg surgeries. So that is cool. At one point, there is an orthopedic surgeon named Park the Shark who comes in and decides that it is okay to attempt to reattach the leg. Later, the woman wakes up and is freaked out by seeing her leg on the table next to her. So that is the story of woman whose leg is amputated. Maybe we do hear her name, by the way. I didn't catch it. But yeah, those are some of the things that happened in that case. A couple of things I want to highlight. I really appreciate that when Park the Shark comes in, you really sense the hierarchy of the hospital. Like all the Whitaker and Ogilvy look like little boys, just like waiting for the judgment, you know? Like in grade school.
Well, I think to further emphasize that, they picked like a guy of like impressive physical stature. Like, like this is like a muscle. Like, there's a physical intimidation that goes along with the hierarchical, intimidation that was really delicious for a character that we may never meet again. You know, like for all I know, like. That guy's not even an actor. He's just like a guy on set. They're like, "You're big. Like, you want to? We need a guy to be in the scene for the next."
Well, he's also kind of a dick to them, which is very enjoyable, right?
No, I think that's called confidence.
Okay.
I think that's called confidence.
Thank you. But I also really enjoyed the scene when the woman wakes up and then sees the leg on the table. Like, can you imagine waking up and then you see someone like hosing down a leg on the table next to you, and you realize like it's your leg?
Well, they're trying really hard also to like not let her in on the secret before they have a better sense of like answers. Like, can it be reattached?
Yeah.
Like, and that makes
have
sense.
We lost your leg? Right. Like we don't know yet. I never thought that would be like a dynamic. You know what I'm saying? I never thought that would be like a thing you need to be conscious of. Is like, shh, don't say.
Give her ketamine. She needs to lay back down. You juxtapose that against last week's case in which, a little boy blows open their fingers and immediately they let you know, like,
your fingers are gone.
It turned into pieces. They're gone. We're moving on to the next thing. We're very blunt about this, even though you're a child. Here, it's like there's a chance that this can be repaired or a version of it can be like remedied, which is wild in and of itself. The fact that is even a possibility is a truly wild thing to imagine.
Yeah. Okay. There is the case of Mr. Foster, a 42-year-old male with 20-foot who falls from a 20-foot tall water slide.
I don't
receiving.
just by FYI, just as an aside, every time one of these cases came up, and I felt like they were just like increasing the height at which these people fell was like stressing me out over. And like I want to know how they picked these heights, but like it was every time new case, and I'm like, say the height 20 feet. Fuck, like, that's so high.
He receives blunt chest trauma with hand injury, something called a degloving on his ring finger, which is exactly like it sounds like.
It's bad. It's sometimes medical terms don't accurately describe the horror but degloving is just right there.
It's just perfect.
You just got to think about it for a second before you go, whoa.
I'm going to tell you a story, Patrick Klepek, if that's cool.
Oh, great. Oh, the term degloving just like brought a story to mind. Continue.
So the great character actor Stephen Tobolowsky is a friend of mine, and he also spoke at my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And something he said at my wedding that has always stuck with me, and I think is very true, is marriage is less about the bedroom and more about the emergency room. You know, it's less about like romance and the things that we all think of, and it's more about who is going to be there on the hardest day of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, and I talk about this on the Decoding Reality podcast with my wife, a Decoding TV podcast available wherever podcasts can be found, that our modern dating environment is not set up to find those people. Like people have their like lists of requirements and, oh, I got the ick because of blah, blah, blah. And people are making decisions off of completely arbitrary stuff that doesn't actually matter. Right. Like what actually matters is, who do I want to be there when my parents die? You know, who do I want to be there when I have been diagnosed with something horrible? Right? Like, not like, is he tall? You know, like, is he drive a nice car? Like, was the meal good? You know, like, these are the decisions that people make these are the factors people make their decisions off of, but like they shouldn't be, in my opinion. Fast forward to many years later, from wedding day, my wife is going to the wedding of her friend, and it's a wonderful ceremony. Like lots of amazing people show up. She's connecting with all these amazing folks again, and the groom had never put on the ring before, and so he puts on the ring that day, and you know, things like during the ceremony, and things seem to go fine. And as the night continues, his hand starts to change color. And it turns out that the ring is on too tight and cannot be removed via normal means. So they have to be ushered. They have to go to the hospital that night and use this machine that they use specifically to like cut a ring off of a finger. And on the way, my wife's friend, who was at our wedding, thought about that Stephen Tobolowsky speech. But anyway, they were eventually able to like cut the ring off and then like reconstitute it in a good way. But yeah, it apparently took much longer than it was depicted in this show. Like, because you don't want to damage the hand.
Right.
And so you're cutting, and then you have you're like squeezing liquid onto it to like make it so like it's like it's lubricated, and so you're not like damaging the hand, and you can maybe slide the thing out. And all this stuff happening, and you see some of that in the show where it's like, hey, make sure you irrigate it to get the gold flecks out of it. You know, that kind of stuff is all like accurate, obviously. But anyway, just wanted to share that story of like, yes, that's a thing that happens if you have a ring. So anyway, the other thing about this plotline is that during the whole thing, Dr. Santos is being extremely disrespectful to Dr. Langdon for very understandable reasons. Like, I think something that is easy to forget, in addition to the fact that Dr. Santos turned Dr. Langdon in to the authorities or whatever in season 1 of the show, Dr. Langdon treated Dr. Santos like complete garbage in season 1, right? Like, was insulting to her and condescending to her for a lot of the time. And so it makes sense that there's a lot of bad blood there. But it gets to the point where it's so uncomfortable that Garcia actually calls her out in front of the patient, and then they need to have a confrontation about it later in the hallway. But anyway, yeah. And then later on, the dad sees the kid at the table next door, but it's not his actual kid, so head fake. But that's what happens with the Mr. Foster storyline. Patrick Klepek, any reactions to any of that?
Well, especially with the Langdon and Santos thing, Langdon and Dr. Robbie, who knows whether we get any more advancement on that over the course of the season. They had their moment, which was, I'm sorry, thank you, I'm sorry. And, Robbie ends up in a place
I'm glad you got the help you needed. I'm not sure I want you working in my ER is what Dr. Robbie
and I
said
think Dr. Robbie, we have another example of Dr. Robbie not necessarily handling. I think we get an illustration that we should not. Dr. Robbie, very trustworthy, maybe not fully in control of his own emotions and how he should be handling himself vis-a-vis his authoritative position relative to people underneath him and the report to him. The Langdon thing is complicated, but they have a moment where they sort of say the two things the two of them need to say. And if we don't advance the ball on that at all this season, they've sort of caught up emotionally to each other. Santos, she's just asking for trouble. Just like, okay, you're just being my empathy goes pretty far. But
also, it's okay. It's okay if just the two of them too. But in front of patients and other professionals,
you are now introducing a scenario where you may do improper care, because you are allowing your emotions to interfere with the work being done. Keep that shit at the door once you walk in with the patient. Then make your snide remarks and roll your eyes once you leave.
That's right.
And she's not doing that, and so
it's like how Patrick does the podcast. When he has very angry thoughts, not on the show, but then the moment the recording stops, that's when he unleashes. You guys don't even hear it.
Hopefully, he'll just fucking fall asleep halfway through the podcast, so it can be over this time. And I actually, it's cool where in season 2, I know we've talked about the shipping and the kind of weird relationship some people have with the perception of what this show is that is different than what it actually is. And yet season 2 is introducing romance, not necessarily plots, but at least connections between the characters that did not exist in the first season, or not nearly to this degree. And especially not with characters we now have a relationship with over an extended period of time. So having Garcia, as you put it, in our notes, chew her out, knowing that they're having sex and having a casual whatever relationship that they're figuring
and eating
out.
ramen in bed.
Whatever that line she says, if you want to have sex and eat ramen in bed, I'm your girl.
You want to have sex and eat ramen in bed, I'm your girl. But if you want to talk about this Langdon shit again, call a therapist.
If you want to keep talking about this Santos shit, get a therapist. Was
Langdon shit.
Langdon. It was
that is red meat
spicy.
That is red meat to the fandom there.
I have to say, look, when I saw that scene, I did think that we watched these a couple days early. I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, that's gonna blow up. People are gonna, okay. But it's I think it's cathartic because Santos needs to be put in her place to a degree, but the complexity of her relationship vis-a-vis Langdon. And the season and a half that we've watched, it's just really good. It's really good character stuff, and the way they're finding ways to get that into the show that doesn't feel, at least so far, at the expense of the medical drama. It's just expertly done so far.
Well, we also hear from Santos about the social consequences of narking on Langdon, right? She says she's treated like a pariah for months while he's welcome back. Santos is correct that Langdon should have lost his job or had more severe consequences. I do agree with that, but it is a thing where if you turn someone in the office in, I do think people would treat you differently, right? I think that's an actual dynamic, and so it's interesting to kind of hear that reflected in what she said to Garcia. Okay. There is the case of Helen Torres, who has a swollen leg / calf. But before we can learn literally anything else about her, Dr. Mohan essentially has a panic attack. And she becomes very frazzled and irritable in general. She starts sweating profusely, and she says she might have an MI, which for those who don't know stands for myocardial infarction, according to the National Institute of Health. Colloquially known as a heart attack, it's caused by a decreased or complete cessation of blood flow to a portion of the myocardium, end quote. But it turns out Dr. Kwan is able to come to the rescue. She doesn't have a heart attack. All of her vitals are looking good. She just had a panic attack. And Dr. Robbie chews her out for bringing her personal baggage to work.
Is this a panic attack because of your mommy issues?
What? No.
Jesus. Do you need to go home?
But then later apologizes, and things are, I guess, kind of okay.
Mommy issues. I mean, the phrase he uses is extremely insulting,
extremely derogatory.
Yes.
Right? To me, this came a little bit out of nowhere, Patrick Klepek, and I am curious what your reaction to Dr. Robbie's breakdown was.
It's I don't know if you've been following much of like the fandom, like some of the what people are predicting, like picking up on over the course of the season, is that there seems to be, and it's not something I've sort of been thinking about too much over the course of season 2, but it does seem to be a thread that a lot of people are picking up on, is like the mental health of Dr. Robbie is extremely precarious right now. And if like this show didn't have a season 3, that'd be you might be predicting that Dr. Robbie was going to take his own life at the end of this season. Like that is like the emotional mental health arc that this man seems to be on. And that's probably not going to happen, right? Given that, the show's renewed for season 3, he's a central character, but his mental health was a central emotional component of season 1. Is part of season 2. It's not his center stage because it's not about him being back on the same day as a mentor died during COVID. But I think if you think about that element and then look at a moment like this, I do think that is a emotional lashing out as Dr. Robbie is not working through like his emotional state, in which he's not necessarily making. He can make extremely good professional decisions, but like when the stuff like skirts into the emotional and the personal, I think what we've seen over season 2 is he really doesn't have that stuff in check. He has reason to be mad at Langdon. He doesn't handle that properly. He's avoiding a confrontation. Right. Here, like it's a terrible day. Someone is having a moment, and then he weaponizes a personal issue in a way that it again would be an HR incident in probably a normal hospital. I think Dr. Robbie would be having a talk with somebody before he got on his motorcycle without his helmet in a different situation. So I think that all does kind of track with a bit of a ticking time bomb with Dr. Robbie. And I don't think it ends as tragically as some have maybe speculated it could go with where he's at. But I do think it is reflective of a deeply troubled, unsettled individual.
I think those are great observations. I do want to acknowledge a couple of things I've read around this topic. Bo Burring over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@decodingtv, writes about commenting on our last week's podcast. I'm surprised not to hear any discussion about the red flags for self-harm that Robbie was flying during this episode in his conversations with Abbott and Whitaker. Abbott talking to him about vacation, telling him a lot of time to self-reflect. Sure, you can handle that? Okay, just make sure you come back, and if it gets dark, you call me. Later, Robbie basically giving Whitaker his place. If I don't come back, you got a swinging bachelor pad, end quote. These are hints that Robbie is in a mentally very dark place. I did text Sarah Mars, who is, as people know, an extremely passionate Pitt fan, to ask her, what did you make of Robbie's blow up this episode? She responded, the downside of Robbie is that he is not as good of a mentor to the women under his charge as the men. Mohan frustrates him because she takes a long time with her patients. But no, there's no really good reason for the blow up other than that he's just harder on her than anyone else. I chalk it up to bias, end quote. Anyway, food for thought. I also read the interview with the woman who plays Dr. Mohan. And I have to say, a little bit taken aback by what she reported as her character's arc this season. This is Supriya Ganesh talking to, I think, televisioninsider.com. And she talks about how, first of all, what's going on with Mohan this season. She had originally planned to move to New Jersey and be close to her mom, but now her mom's selling the house and traveling the world with her new boyfriend. So now she's thinking of staying in Pittsburgh, but she's undecided about her choice of fellowship. Robbie's replacement, Dr. Al-Hashimi, suggests geriatrics, given her skills, but according to the actress, Supriya Ganesh, saying, I remember playing that scene and just sort of feeling the air go out of my body a little when Dr. Al-Hashimi would say that to Samira, because it feels so not what she thought her job was ever going to be. I kind of made the decision that the position that she accepted in New Jersey was going to be something that focused on things she's more interested in. I know her research project with racial inequities got canceled because of funding cuts, and that's something I know she's disappointed by. So I think she's able to find something else in that line of work. I think geriatrics just sort of like, is that what you think of me? Is that what you think I should be doing? And I think the chaos is really good for her because it stops her from overthinking. Later on, Robbie says something about geriatrics, and I think she just has this moment of, what else do I need to do to prove that I belong here? Or what else do I need to do to have you validate me that I belong here? I think it's a complicated dynamic, and I think it's certainly interesting that so many people are pushing her towards this thing, end quote. That was a dynamic I did not even pick up on watching the show. Like, she was insulted that so many people think she should be in geriatrics. Whereas Dr. Mohan's like, I'm proving myself. I'm here. I can run with the best of them. I don't think that like explains what's going on in the scene between Dr. Robbie and Dr. Mohan, but it's just like kind of more fodder for the dynamic between them. All right, I know that was a lot, but thanks for bearing with us. Some thoughts on what is going on with the Dr. Mohan situation. This episode, we also saw an 8-year-old boy get thrown off the water slide and experience major neck trauma with a possible laryngeal fracture. At that point, Dr. Al-Hashimi does something extremely badass, in my opinion, something called a slash trach, which is an emergency procedure you only do in a scenario where you need to free an airway and you cannot oxygenate or intubate. It requires these vertical incisions in the throat, through tracheal rings, and they, I think, give it an according level. Like, even Dr. Robbie doesn't know about it, which is like, he knows about every weird ass thing that can happen in the show. And so the fact that he doesn't know about it, and they're like, or he's never done one before, is, I think, astonishing. And I think the way it's depicted is very thrilling. So I really enjoyed this storyline as well.
It felt like the Pitt equivalent of, like, in the first 10 years of the MCU, when like a big cameo would happen for like a character you've been waiting for a long time to appear on screen, and it's like everyone looks over and the character appears, and it's like, oh, and then they do like a cool superpower, and like, I've always wanted to see that on the screen before.
It's like when Quicksilver shows up in the X-Men movies.
Yes. There's like someone showing up, like she's been building up like her meter over the course of the season, and then deploys it on this one secret technique. And even when she said, like, have you done that before? And she's like, no, I did in the simulator once. And
How many of these you done?
First one.
You serious? What about you? None.
I practiced in the sim lab when I was at Stanford.
then it was great when, like, the fucking surgery comes in to complain again about what people in the ER are doing wrong. And basically she's like, bitch, like, I saved that guy's life.
They'll be thrilled to clean up your mess.
Or maybe they'll thank us for not letting him die.
It was so
and
good.
it's like, and now you fully belong to the Pit. That's like literally was my reaction. Was like,
when I'm on the other side, like this character who came in as slightly villainous in the beginning, now I'm like, girl, don't let them. Yeah, you did the right thing. Like, I'm on your side.
I think what is also great is Dr. Al-Hashimi has like a lot of positives and negatives, but one of the things I really like about this character is she is extremely composed. Like, she nothing phases her, no matter how, and so this is like one of the most stressful situations you can be in, and she just goes in and delivers amazing sequence.
Still no follow-up from her moment where she called
she has like a medical condition, right, that she called, and it's unclear what happened there, right?
But she seemed very stressed out, like we still don't know the details on what was going on there, but that has not been, I'm sure that will be picked up on at some point.
Yeah. She also has a brief encounter with Dr. Robbie where she says, hey, you shouldn't have been such a dick to Dr. Mohan, and that Dr. Robbie is then a dick to her in that moment as well. So that's great. There is the situation with Roxy. We've already talked about it at the beginning, but yes, she debates whether to increase the morphine, possibly causing her own passing. Dr. Javadi has a hard time handling the whole situation. Roxy's son Shane also doesn't want to talk to her and has a difficult time being in the room. As the episode comes to a close, Dr. McKay injects morphine into her IV that will presumably end her life. Any reflections on this story? I mean, who knows if this is going to continue for another 3 episodes? I doubt it. I think this is the end.
Please, God, no. I need this woman to stop breathing so I can breathe myself.
Any other reflections, Patrick? Or we said a lot last week on the podcast. So
we did. Yeah. You know, I mean, the only like sort of real life analog I have to this was like my own father passed away while I was in California many years ago. But then some years later, a cousin of mine calls me, and his wife had just lost their own father, and he's like, "We're at the hospital. He just passed away. She's trying to figure out should she go into the room?" And he's like, "I'm sorry to put this on you. I didn't know who else to call. You're the only person that knows lost somebody like this." I was like, "No, you're good. You're good." But yeah, I would tell her to go in the room because you don't get a take back
right
on the other one. I was like, if you don't go in, it's okay. You should do what's best. Tell your wife she should do what's best for herself. But if you go into the room and you traumatize yourself, you can work through having gone into that room.
Yeah. That's reversible in some way. Right?
Yeah, and I was like, but you don't get, especially if you're not going to do a burial where you'll be able to see the body again. Yeah, it's like depending on. I was like, I don't know where you guys are at or like what everyone's wishes were, but like if there's not a chance to see the body again, I didn't get a chance to do that with my father. And I was like, if I had had an opportunity, I would have. And so that is the one advice I have. And so they did go in, and they were thankful they did go in and do that. But I thought about that as the conversation with the child, which is much my dad already would have been dead by the time I went in to say goodbye. And like, that feels easier than saying goodbye to someone who's still with you. Like and doing that when you're like a teenager, Jesus Christ, man, there's not.
Yeah.
Brutal. So again, this woman needs to die. I need to be done with this story.
I like that I like that you share like this extremely heartfelt story, with actual actionable advice about how to handle the hardest time in your life, and then get rid of this character because she's
that's what I need to hear, David.
The thing I need to hear is the beep sound. Yep. All right. A couple of ongoing patient updates. There is a brief moment where there's some Ogilvy plot development or character development this episode where he's like overwhelmed. We found out he's overwhelmed by everything going on, which is like the first time he's shown any weakness. He talks to that English teacher and hands him a book, Notes on Native Son. We see that Dr. Langdon wants to make sure Louis gets a proper burial, which is nice. Dana asks for volunteers from the gift shop to help run things and also commits insurance fraud to get Monica's super nicotine gum. I see it's okay when it's not okay when Dr. Langdon is trying to, get drugs to support the shift, but like it's fine when Dana does it. I don't know. Feels like a double.
Dana can get away with a murder in season 4 of the Pit, and like everyone's gonna help her cover it up. And we're all
I like
gonna
how
be
she's
okay
just like
with it.
arrest me, like.
Well, look, here's the difference. She admitted.
She admitted. That's right. Javadi's mom chews her out for missing the sigmoid volvulus from last episode. Duke, Robbie's VIP friend, comes in. He's not dead. Duke is a motorcycle engineer who has helped to restore Dr. Robbie's Bonneville motorcycle. Dr. Robbie, he's got like some vocal issues. So Dr. Robbie first puts a scope down his nose. I have had that procedure done many times because I have a bunch of sinus issues. And let me tell you, that is an extremely uncomfortable and unpleasant procedure. So respect to Duke for enduring that. But apparently all tests were normal. And so, what do you call it? It's unclear what's wrong, but Dr. Whitaker does order some more tests. And so I do anticipate we're going to find something is wrong with Duke that needs treatment. We also learned that Dr. Robbie's apparently going to be riding all night after a 12-hour workday, further adding fuel to the fire that Dr. Robbie's mental state is not in good condition. Finally, Dr. Mel goes through an extremely unprofessional deposition and reunites with her sister Becca, who Langdon has taken very good care of in the meantime. Becca then tells Mel that she has a urinary tract infection, as predicted last week on the podcast, because she's having lots of sex with her boyfriend. Mel is shocked. So I'm just going to say I support this plotline
Good for her, you know?
Good for her. Good for her. Becca is the autistic twin sister of Dr. Mel and played by Tal Anderson, who is autistic in real life, the actress is.
Oh.
And I just think that in general, we don't see enough depiction of the romantic lives of people who are neurodivergent or differently abled on screen. We rarely see them depicted at all. And when they are depicted, it's usually in a very infantilized fashion. And so the idea that, hey, this Mel's sister is apparently having tons of sex, I am curious where this plotline is going to go. So anyway, let's get to our medical worker of the week, which is how we like to wrap up each of our recaps, followed by some of your feedback and reactions at decodingtv@gmail.com. Patrick Klepek, who's your medical worker of the week?
Dr. Langdon, specifically kind of in this interaction with Mel and her sister. I thought the decision he makes to invoke doctor-patient confidentiality.
Right. To Mel, right? Like,
which, look, that is probably legally true. If he, like, I don't think anyone's batting, an eye if he was to, like, hey, by the way, like, here's what's going on, here to prep you on, like, what your sister went through. Yeah. But I think he recognizes the weight that Mel is putting on her shoulders. Now, granted, this is something he's recognizing, having met this woman one day in one shift 1 year ago. It's okay. It's a TV show. We can extrapolate relationships. But I thought that was a very kind gesture. Absolutely. On his part, that, like, you also need to, like, let your sister be her own, and not in a condescending way of, like, you carrying so much of the weight of your sister, you can let some of that go, give it to others, give some to her. And I think having that dialogue between the three of them, where she has to ask her for permission about what's going on, was a very cool moment. Although I do have to say, again, as I follow some of the Pitt now this is the Pitt fandom derogatory, is like speculation that, like, well, the reason it left such an impact is because Langdon and Mel shipped. That's a shipping that's happened. He's married. He has a child. He just went through, like, drug
multiple
rehab.
Children, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but, like, as we were pointing out, significant others, they get cast and they get a FaceTime spot on the show. Langdon, it's a phone call. Why aren't we casting that family? Maybe because it's about to not exist. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it should do that.
Please stop. But
I feel like you were talking through me to, like, the Pitt TikTok videos as you told me.
I'm just going to say this too. Like, look, I have a lot of sympathy for Dr. Santos, right? I do think in many ways she got a raw deal from Dr. Langdon in season 1, and the aftermath of the whole season 1, like, didn't play out well in her favor. That said, I really had a lot of sympathy for Dr. Langdon because it's really hard to do your job when you have other people just sniping at you the whole time, right? Which is what has happened throughout this episode of the show. I know as well because I host a podcast called The Filmcast, and that happens to me on that show all the time. I'm being facetious, of course, kind of. But okay, anyway, my medical worker of the week. Dr. Al-Hashimi, for just stepping in and being like, we got to do the slash strike. Dr. Robbie being like, okay, like, good luck. Have you done one? Go ahead. And just stepping in, being total badass, being super composed. Like, the way the show depicted it, I thought was so good because it kind of closes in on her face and she kind of has this moment where she just says, she kind of decides inwardly, I'm going to proceed. And I know what I'm doing. I have confidence in myself. And by gosh darn it, people like me, and I'm going to, like, put this knife in this kid's throat. And that's exactly what she does. She saves this kid's life. It's totally badass. It's awesome. So Dr. Al-Hashimi, not somebody who I thought I'd ever have praise for this season, beginning of the season, turned out to be, hey, I think she has proven herself to be highly competent and capable as the season has gone on. And I think that is in many ways a relief.
But I feel like that's just setting, like, they're lulling us into complacency. Not that she's going to make some horror, but I just feel,
right.
You know, she's introduced as a villain. Now, like, we're kind of on her side. Fuck Robbie. Like, what a dick. Like,
Right.
Robbie, like, you know, Dr. Al-Hashimi, my new best friend, like, sort of a situation. I'm like, I haven't forgotten that kind of panic she had as she had to go off. I'm worried.
Absolutely.
I'm worried for her, and thus I'm worried for me.
I want to, that's going to bring us to the end of our thoughts on the episode. Of course, we want to respond to your feedback on our last podcast. You can always write into us at decodingtv@gmail.com or comment at youtube.com/decodingtv. C. Charles 848 writes, the Javadi storyline. She raised her hand at the beginning of the episode, but was never called upon. What was her question? Was it about her patient who ended up falling through the cracks? End quote. Maybe so, C. Charles. Maybe so. You remember when she they asked questions and she was never called upon? Could have that could have been it. That could have been the sigmoid volvulus right there. EJ Crow writes, they don't state the water park by name in the Pitt, but as a Pittsburgher, I can confirm the big water park here is called Sandcastle, and it's under the same ownership as Kennywood. You know, this also is a comment that somebody made over at decodingtv.com, because there was some debate last week over whether or not a water park constitutes an amusement park, as per Sarah Mars's work pool about what would be the mass casualty incident this season. Danny over at decodingtv.com wrote in, water park is definitely an amusement park. If I bet on an amusement park disaster and it's a water slide collapse, I would riot if that wasn't recognized as the winner. Just my 2 cents. Now, I did ask Sarah Mars about what the outcome of this bet was. And she said that while the water park in Pittsburgh is owned by the same company that owns the amusement park, they are not the same facility. Therefore, the pool is rolling over to season 3.
I was right. I win.
Nailed it, Patrick Klepek. I mean, I just admire that they respect the sanctity of the pool. You know, like, that's amazing.
It's also just much funnier that the pool doubles in size. That's just a better outcome in general. Also, how do we get in on this pool?
Absolutely something I'm interested in. John B writes into youtube.com/decodingtv. How about a tip of the hat to Digby? In a previous episode, we found out that Digby was missing for so long because he was saying goodbye to Louis. And in this episode, he moved his gurney aside and made room for the crash cart when the unaccounted patient needed to be resuscitated. And then Digby gives the team a double thumbs up. Love that guy. He's got the empathy that Ogilvy is missing. End quote. No argument from me. John B, thanks for your comments at youtube.com/@decodingtv. Final comment here from Jamie in Portland, Maine, who writes in to decodingtv@gmail.com. Many people wrote in, Patrick Klepek, in response to your comments a couple weeks ago saying that Noah Wyle is the only person credited for 31 episodes of The Pitt. You were wondering what the deal with that is. Jamie from Portland, Maine writes into decodingtv@gmail.com. I'm probably not the first at this point, but I wanted to offer an explanation for why Noah Wyle is credited for 31 episodes of The Pitt on IMDb. It's simply because IMDb already has an entry for season 3, episode 1, in which Noah Wyle is the only credited actor. It's actually pretty common, and I think annoying and confusing, for IMDb to have a sort of placeholder episode 1 entry for upcoming seasons of shows that have been renewed, but otherwise have no details published for them. I can't say for certain why Noah Wyle is the only credited actor. Maybe because there's basically no way they're doing another season of the show without him, and that's not necessarily the case for any of the other series regulars. End quote. Maybe there's some internal logic in the IMDb system.
I'm assuming it's a database thing where to create a season 3, you then have to credit at least one actor.
At least one actor.
That's part of like the entry field, is that you have to attach an actor.
So Patrick thought there was some interesting conspiracy around it. Turns out, nope. It's just probably a function of how IMDb works. Anyway.
Well, let's wait till season 2 finishes. Still got a chance.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.